Producer, pour from the hip 4/5, I'm the shooter. Dog, I do ya. But the two don't discriminate, cause I shoot the guy next to ya.
I heard that podcast.
That injury was gruesome. I did see the clips of it. That was pretty bad. His ankle did that. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty tough. Like you said when we were talking earlier, I'm just a little upset about the franchise tag. Because now him being hurt, you don't know if he's gonna be able to get the maximum amount of money, if that makes sense. So that's the only thing I'm kind of worried about, because to me, he's been like diehard Cowboy, the savior for the Cowboys. He's been, to me, him and Zeke has been a man. You know what I'm saying? And being young. But like me and you talking earlier, I don't think it's over, because like you say, if you look at, for instance, remember when AP tore his, didn't he tear his Achilles? No, he tore his ACL, right?
ACL.
He came back and won MVP the next year. So it ain't over, like you said, or Russell Westbrook. You know, so it ain't over, but, or Paul George. I think Paul George did a similar incident with his leg, right?
Uh-huh.
So like you said, he just got to stay dedicated and focused, but I'm kind of mad because it could mess his money up.
Okay, I'm kind of glad you say that, and I wanted to let you go first because being a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, you know, my thoughts are very different on this situation. And like you said, Dak has been the ultimate Cowboy. He really has. He's carried the bandwagon, even to the detriment of himself for Black people, if you know what I mean. Like, exactly. He stood up for Jerry Jones when nobody else would. And he was, you know, talking about what it was like to be a Cowboy and that Cowboy is first. And, you know, but Jerry Jones has always been shady. You think about the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. When Colin Kaepernick, you know, first started protesting, he said, if any Dallas Cowboy kneels, he'll cut him on the spot, you know? So Jerry Jones has been one of those type of guys. No coach of any decency really wants to coach for him. He's ran off every good coach because he refused to stay in the owner's box. But having said that, you know, I don't begrudge any man for getting his money. Get that bag, you know, get that bag. But he took care of Tony Romo. And Tony Romo was very injury prone with the collarbone breaks, 2 of them. As a matter of fact, he still paid Tony Romo and gave Tony Romo guaranteed money. Okay. Jerry Jones did that. Now, why Tony Romo? But Dak Prescott, whose numbers are just as good, if not better, can't get a contract. Why is he on the franchise tag? And I'll tell you why. It's because Jerry Jones gambled and he just won. He just won. Because he can franchise tag him again next year or just cut him. And no matter what he says about, oh, you know, he's a Dallas Cowboy and we're going to take care of him, I don't trust you, Jerry Jones. I don't trust you at all. You know, especially, huh?
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing.
Okay, so basically, you know, you just outlasted Dak Prescott, who bet on himself, you know, and he got injured. Now, I'm not saying by no means that Jerry Jones wanted him to get hurt. No, he didn't. But what Jerry Jones needs right now is somebody that can step up in that front office and say, you know what, Jerry, let me take care of your troubles, you know, and have enough guts to tell Jerry, sit down, let me handle this. Because if you look at the system that they run, if you take that system that they run and you have to plug in a quarterback that fits and keep your system the way it is, if you think you're going to have success with that system, my fraternity brother, Colin Kaepernick, would be your greatest asset. That's the quarterback you need to get out there. And at the same time, you make amends with the public. People stop thinking you're such a bad guy if you go out and get Colin Kaepernick. But I don't know if he'd do it. What do you think?
So let me just ask you this out of curiosity. How long has, and you know I'm a big Cap fan. You know that. Cap, my guy. I want to see Cap have a job. But when you think about it from a business aspect, right? One of my great phrases I like to use is out of sight, out of mind, if that makes sense. So when you out of sight for so long, don't get me wrong, and you being an athlete and me being an athlete as well, you can practice, work out, but it's nothing like actually being in a game or practicing with your team. You know what I'm saying? So I guess my question to you is, for Cap being out so long, do you think is he still the same Cap? Is the question.
No, he is not the same Cap. He's actually a little wiser because he's matured some. He speed-wise, I'm sure he's right there. His arm looked good. You've got Andy Dalton to bridge the gap, let him shake some of the dust off. But I'm glad you brought that up. So let's think about Colin Kaepernick, because I prepared some notes here. Right now, the NFL has the top 10 quarterbacks listed as Patrick Mahomes, number 1, Lamar Jackson, number 2, Russell Wilson, number 3. Can't argue with none of those. None of those. Drew Brees is number 4. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. You know who number 5 is, Skip?
Number 5, let me guess, is Aaron Rodgers.
Dak Prescott.
Ooh.
Dak Prescott. Okay.
Okay, I can go with that.
Number 6 is Deshaun Watson.
I can go with that too.
Number 7 is Matthew Stafford.
I do not agree with that one.
Number 8 is Carson Wentz. Number 9 is Tom Brady. I can go with that.
Yeah,
Number 10 is Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay, I can go with Big Ben.
Number 11 is Aaron Rodgers.
He should be up on that list, just to be honest.
Okay, I absolutely agree. So Dak Prescott's hurt. Let's take him out of that equation. Let's move Aaron Rodgers in there.
Yep.
Let's remove Matthew Stafford and Carson Wentz, because they don't belong in there.
They don't.
Okay, so then you have your top 8 quarterbacks. Other than that, name me another quarterback that's better than Colin Kaepernick.
So this is the thing, though. When I seen Cap and what Cap is now, I can't answer that. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say this: you can practice well, you can work out well, but that actually being into a game, that game speed, that it's just a different beast, if that makes sense. Like, you can practice well, you can work out well, but when you in in-game situations, and at this point in time, especially with COVID going on, a lot of people don't have time to be rusty or trying to pay people because of what's going on. So my personal opinion is I want Cap to get a job. Don't get me wrong, but I think he has to maybe go to the XFL, go to something to show people that he still got it, if that makes sense. Because all we doing is just going off of the old Cap. You see what I'm saying? And we don't have anything present, so people are out of sight, out of mind. But when Cap was in the NFL, Cap would be in that top 10 for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, but even if not, so you have Andy Dalton. What do you have to lose? You need a backup quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. But then you got to think about it like this too, because it's always a business, right? Off the court. So this is the thing that, just working in the business world and being around business people, if you're gonna be a liability, you got to be a strong liability, if that makes sense. So I need to know what you do. You need to do well. You need to be top 1, 2, or 3 in what you do, because of the stuff that happens off the court, if that makes sense. So absolutely. For the protesting and all that type of stuff, which I'm 100% with that, so I don't think I'm not with that. But as a business owner, with what's going on in the world, that's the first thing that they're thinking of. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, if they can't see him in in-game situations, they can't see him being the same Cap, because like you say, he is getting wiser. Don't get me wrong with that, but he's getting slower for sure. He's not game ready right now. He's not. He might be able to work out. He may be able to do those things, but that's a different beast, especially in the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And as strangely as it is, I 100% guarantee, I agree with you on everything you just said, but it is a business. So let me think, Jerry Jones, how do I keep my fan base? Because the fan base is upset at what just happened to Dak Prescott. This man has no guarantee. So he's paid for this year. He's paid, but then what about next year? What about his future? This man has endeared himself to the American public. His mother died a couple years ago. He's endured it. His brother just tragically died. He's came on, been a spokesperson for mental health issues. He has stood up for Jerry Jones when nobody else would. Okay, so let's look at business-wise. How do I keep my people interested, my fan base interested? The league has already came out and said, hey, we should have listened to Colin Kaepernick. You have been a very strong protester against Colin Kaepernick. Stand up and say, hey, I was wrong. Here's how I was wrong. We're going to bring him in and give him a shot.
Let me ask you this, though. How many of those Dak fans are not Colin Kaepernick's fans? That's what you got to always remember, too. They love Dak, but they might not like Cap. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, he might not be adding to the fan base. He might be just throwing all the fans away at the end of the day anyway. You see what I'm saying? So the reason why I'm saying that is I want Cap to get a job. So I'm going to keep saying that because I do want him to get a job. But I think after what happened, he has to be more public, if that makes sense. He needs to maybe go to the XFL and dominate the XFL. You know what I'm saying? Because out of sight, out of mind. The longer you out of the people's sight, the quicker they're gonna forget about you.
And again, you're absolutely right. This is where I said you need a strong GM, because I tell Dak Prescott, I tell Colin Kaepernick, if I'm the GM, hey, you win, let me handle the pressure. You just go out there and ball out. And you know what? I keep Jerry Jones under wraps. And if it works out, I'm a hero. If not, you're still a hero. You brought in Colin Kaepernick, and the fan base loves winning. If he doesn't work out, he's second string. Andy Dalton's carrying the load. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, but how many fans you lose again that are not Cap fans? How much revenue do you lose that is not Cap's fans? And he's not producing. Now you just did all that. Now he has to be a second string quarterback. Then after that, they're gonna probably draft the quarterback, and then now he's gonna be off the team again.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Be honest. Is Dak Prescott better than Andy Dalton?
For sure.
Okay, then. So either way, it's the lesser of two evils.
But listen to me though, you know how the sports go. They rather take a vet that's seasoned than to deal with any BS or a young player. You know that for a fact. They're gonna always take a vet who's been through the ringer. He might be ass, but they're still gonna take that vet guy because he's a good locker room guy. He's gonna kiss the babies. He's gonna do all the things that a professional has to do because he's a vet. But when you come back and say, okay, and again, I want Cap to have a job. I'm gonna keep telling everybody this. But then you have to think on the flip side of it, the business owner is, okay, I bring Cap in, now I have angry fans, now I have protesters, and he's not performing. Now that's a lose, lose, lose for the whole organization.
You think with the whole Black Lives Matter and everything else that's going on with racial injustice and how people are fighting right now and fighting to prove that they're not racist, that they don't want systemic racism, you think people are actually going to object that hard? No. Even those who don't want it are going to grin, bear it, and clap.
I just at this point in time, man, just the watching how everything goes, I think it'll be a big uproar. And you got to think about this, even with the Black Lives Matters and stuff that's going. The topic we just touched on a couple of podcasts ago, Doc Rivers. You telling me for the bubble thing, and we said that we both agreed on this. It was probably due to the speech. That powerful speech he gave, that could have been the reason he was let go. So at this point, I'm going to say this. Cap just has to be more visual. We need to see him more. I don't know if he had to be more on social media, if he has to go train with the college kids, go back to his alma mater. I don't know what he needs to do, but I feel like we need to see Cap more. Because if we see Cap more and he's in the media more, for not just trying to get back into the game, not just protesting and things of that nature, if we see him more, okay, every morning he's posting a video of him working out, or him and Tom Brady is working out, or him and Marshawn Lynch. We need to see more of Cap because, like you said, man, how long has that been since Cap got blackballed from the NFL?
What is it? He's been out of the NFL for what, 3 years? 4 years?
But you see how fast time is flying. So what I'm saying is he has to be more visual. And I'm not saying in a negative or a positive way. We need to see more. We need to see more of him. And I say, if he has to go to the XFL, he's just gonna have to suck it up and go back to show people, look, I still got it. Dominate the XFL. Dominate it. All I'm saying is dominate the XFL, and then let's see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing, and you could vouch for this too. When you always go back to the neighborhood, or when you talk to people who used to hoop or play football, they live in the glory days, right?
Uh-huh.
We grown now. Them glory days don't mean nothing no more. You know what I'm saying? It happened when we was playing, but we grown now. So, we could live on it, but you got to get out of that, man. We 30, 40, 50 years old now. That was back when we was 18 to 23. So we can't stuck on the glory days. We need to see it. We need to see Cap out throwing it. We need to see Cap being more involved with even if it's the NFL, the XFL, even in college. If he's just working out with the college kids, going up there practicing with them. We just need to see some Cap.
He's had several workout tapes. He works out all the time. He throws to the college wide receivers. He's been out showing his arm strength. He actually looks at now. He doesn't have game speed, absolutely, but his arm looks good. They said that even during his workout, he looked like a top 10 quarterback. Even the workout for the NFL.
No, I get that, but when you got people that get paid, some of the top defensive players in the NFL coming for you, that's a different story than just throwing it to open players, if that makes sense. It's people trying to take your head off. And you got to think about this too. So say he does come back and play for the Cowboys, right? What if some of the line still thinking about him protesting and still are kind of upset about that? So guess what's gonna happen? Oh, I'm gonna miss. Go get him. Now what? Now it's a bounty on his head. You know what I'm saying?
That don't happen. They want to win. They want that paycheck. But I will tell you this. Let's look at something similar. Okay? Let's look at something similar. The Atlanta Falcons had a great mobile quarterback who went to prison, missed 2 years, came back to the Philadelphia Eagles as a backup, ended up starting and being better than when he left. I bet on Colin Kaepernick, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Don't take it that I'm not either, because you got to think, that was back then, right? This is a whole new ball game, a whole new era, and it's just different now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope Cap get a job. I always say that, but I think he needs a little bit more strong points to fight his case, if that makes sense. We need to see him more. Because one of my favorite sayings is out of sight, out of mind. So if you don't see somebody for a long period of time, then guess what? You forget about it.
Okay. So he needs to be more visual. Like I said, I'll say it. I'll say this, and then I'll leave it there. You want experience, you want a winner. Has Andy Dalton ever been to the playoffs? No. Has he ever been to a Super Bowl? No. Colin Kaepernick was in the playoffs every year, has been to the Super Bowl, competed on the highest level. Again, I bet on Colin Kaepernick. And who's better suited for that offense that they run with Dak Prescott, Andy Dalton, or Colin Kaepernick? Again, Colin Kaepernick.
No, and like I said, I agree, but I'm just on the business side, and him being away for 3 years, you're gonna be rusty, and you got to think about it. They're not gonna give you that much time. They're not gonna give you that much time. He'd be a second string quarterback, right? That's cool. But then they draft another player. Now he'd be right back at square one. Because he got
still 10 games left in the season.
Yeah, but you got to think about it. He ain't about to. I don't feel like this, but it could happen because it happened with Melo a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Melo was off for a period of time. He came back, worked his way in there, then wound up starting. So it can happen for sure. But I'm just saying I think it's going to be hard. I think he just need to be more visual. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you there. But like I said, since he's my fraternity brother and I'm a huge fan, I'm often on social media and I see him working out, throwing to high school kids. He shows up, throws to high school kids. He throws to college kids that are getting ready. I think he'll show up and show out.
I hope he do it again. I want Cap to get a job. So please don't take that I'm not trying to get him a job, because that's my guy for sure. But just on the flip side, you know how the business world is.
Absolutely.
All righty, guys. Very intriguing points. Well, guess we'll just see what happens if he'll ever get a job. I don't think that he ever will, just because, like you said, he's blackballed now. But ain't nothing else. I guess we can go ahead and sign out.
Guys, to the next time.
It's
Pull from the hip 4/5, I'm the shooter. Dog, I do ya. But the two don't discriminate, 'cause I shoot the guy next to ya. I can see